Okay, in this video, I'm going to chat about sort of the ideal characteristic, sort of my ideal SAT test taker. What would he or she or it look like? And this will kind of give you a sort of insight into the kind of mental process that you need to have when you're doing the exam. So, my ideal test taker is not even human. It would actually be something like an AI or a robot, right? That was completely cold and calculating, right? That was not swayed by any kind of emotion or any sort of events from the past, which, it had experienced before. Literally it would sit down at the desk. It would look down at the paper, it would absorb everything in the text, then it would move on to the questions and read the questions and absorb that, and then follow the instructions to the letter in the question, then read the answer choices, all the time keeping that sort of cold, calculating objectivity, right? That only a sort of an AI or a robot could do. That would be my ideal test taker. But why, Mr. Cody? Okay, the reason is you have to think about the way the SAT is designed. Usually the sort of the wrong answer choices have a couple of elements that are very similar. And the most common one is they contain an element of subjectivity, which is not supported by the passage, right? And the way that the College Board introduces these subjective elements is usually it'll use words like adjectives or adverbs, which are kind of emotional or have sort of implications behind them, right? And then what kids do is, and I'm sorry, English teachers, but this comes back to you, is they read between the lines, which you should never do in the SAT, and they infer things, right? Things that aren't there based on, I don't know, their hunches or experiences and things like that. I'll give you a few kind of trite examples. Let's say it's a classic passage one, it's a literature passage. There's two lovers or whatever, and they've broken up. I've legit heard kids say, Mr. Kobe, I also went through a breakup in the past, so I can kind of empathize with one of the parties in this disagreement. So I think the answer choice is, I don't know, C. I shake my head. That's horrifying. You should never use anything outside the text. You should never read anything into anything which isn't objectively there, right? My dream test taker, my robot, would not make that kind of mistake. He would know, he would be programmed like the way I told you. He would be cold and clean, right? He would not let any kind of events or feelings from the past cloud his present. The only input he would have would be from the text and the question, right? That would be his mindset when he was taking the exam, okay? So I want you to remember that. When you're taking this exam, objectivity is your friend, okay? Subjectivity is totally your enemy. The more subjective you are, the more you insert yourself into the story, the more you want to read between the lines, the more you want to second guess things that are there, the worse you're going to do. Honestly, I bet you, if you evaluate stuff that you get wrong, I bet you 70% of the time is because you're inferring things. I bet you. Just based on, the hundreds of kids that I've taught over the years. Often I'll say, where did you get that? Where did that answer come from? And, inevitably the kids will say, I thought it said, or doesn't it seem to say, or it doesn't seem anything. It's either there or it isn't. You should be able to point something to me literally in the text. Okay, so keep that in mind. Be a robot, and you'll be doing well.